Okay, I will call the Marlborough Board of Selectmen meeting for Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026 to order. Seated tonight are myself, Louise Contabello, Joe Aspar, Anthony Bratch, John Rizza, and present also is our town manager, David Porter. First order of business is acceptance of the minutes for both our regular meeting and January 20th, which we'll start with.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of January 2026.
Motion by Louise, I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
What is on the other one? Oh, yeah,
No, it's
on the
Page
last page, please.
6,
Item 11.
number 11, state police.
Yep.
Instead of policy.
I saw that too. It's on the other one.
That's it.
Okay, one correction, minutes approved. Second up is our minutes from our special meeting on January 27th, 2026. And it's also in your packet.
I'll make a motion to accept January 27th special meeting minutes.
Motion by Anthony, and second.
I'll second.
Second by Joe. Any discussion? I don't think there was any errors on this one. All in favor? Aye. All right, motion carries done. Public comments. We welcome your comments. Please state your name and address for the record. And please limit your comments to 3 minutes because we have lots of people. I'll try to use this so you can see it. If it doesn't work, maybe something else. Who would like to start?
And please use the lectern so that the people on Zoom can hear you.
Yeah. Anybody want to start?
I'll start.
Go ahead.
Hal Whitney, 20 Ogden Lord Road, twice a week transfer station visitor and proud participant in the town's current food scrap program. An all-around trashy guy. The SMM grant that's on the agenda tonight is part of the governor's announcement, last October for a $7.5 million grant to 18 towns, including Marlborough. Almost all of them involve contracting with Waste Zero to do the same type of work that's being proposed to Marlborough. All of them except one, that's Haddam. Haddam took just a little bit less than the rest of the towns, $22,000 to support the deployment of additional satellite Blue Earth food scrap collection bins. Now, Haddam began their food scrap program back in 2021, and they took the same approach that Marlborough did. They started with offering 100 of the 6-gallon composting pails to their residents, but they charged $25 each. We gave ours away. According to every report I see from the Food Abundance program, our Marlborough program is very successful, reducing food waste in the trash, and that's with only 100 pails that have been given away. Maybe a few more, maybe a few less. So why don't we reduce that deep grant to Marlborough to perhaps $25,000 to $30,000, buy an additional 500 of these 6-gallon composting pails to give away to residents, and also set up some additional satellite Blue Earth bins on the far side of town. Make it easier for those folks on the other side of town to reach the bin instead of driving across town to make it to the transfer station. If you parse out all the words in all the word salad rhetoric, the pretentious, needlessly elevated language contained in the Waste Zero proposal, the bottom line is to sell us overpriced garbage bags to accomplish the same objective: remove heavy food scraps from the trash and redirect them to the earth compost bins, to the Blue Earth compost bins. And we can do that ourselves by expanding and publicizing this current food scrap program and make it even more successful. Please vote no tonight. That's what I'm asking. Please vote no on this boondoggle. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Good.
Next. Go ahead. You guys can start lining up at the end of the lecture if you want.
Nick Oren from 30 Dickinson Road, very similar remarks to what Hal's went through.
Good evening. I've lived in Marlborough for 12 years. I've been proud to call this town my home. I would first like to thank you for your service. This town is the first time in those 12 years I've felt the need to actually come here and speak to all of you on behalf of something I believe is an injustice to our town. By trusting you back to invest interest of your citizens, and trusting you graciously willing to spend your time here on these nights so that others such as myself can enjoy that time at home. A couple weeks ago, I found out the Waste Zero program had been proposed, and after researching it, I knew I needed to come down and express deep concern about the best interest of people in Marvin represent. First of all, it might seem like a small cost per bag. This adds up to hundreds of dollars per year. If I were to trust the taxes would be used to offset this cost, and our tax burden would be kept constant, I would stomach that. But I do not believe that's true based on proven history. Taxes continue to increase. This cost increase to the average household will drive extremely undesirable behavior. I lived at the crossroads of Dickinson and 66, and numerous times have seen the results of illegal dumping at that corner. When garbage is free to get rid of, if you start charging for bags, it will certainly increase. Responsible handling of waste is to be encouraged. This policy does the opposite. People resort to the burning of garbage, almost certainly resulting in the release of hazardous and carcinogenic fumes in the air we breathe. As a member of the Marlborough community, I've enjoyed the wonderful park by the lake, and I've seen numerous people drive up to the dumpster there and dump their trash for free, but mainly for the sheer convenience that is close to the dump and open 24/7. If you add in the extra costs and complications of bags, people start dumping garbage to the lake and other businesses around town illegally. Furthermore, I read the material of this program, and the logic that the program is using an incentive to encourage good behavior is disgraceful. We all agree recycling is good, and most of us, myself included, recycle as much as we can, and we also compost. The speed camera is piloted in town, which tolerated is a way of taking people that are breaking the law. This, however, is implementing a new way for the town to get the pocket of law-abiding citizens, taxpayers. Essentially, another tax in disguise to increase the overall town budget so that it's less money required to provide this essential service to residents. What's next? The budget doesn't balance. Do we increase the price to $4 a bag? When does this stop? Or do we put a toll booth to start charging people to use the lake and the playground? Board of Selectmen, I hope you look at myself and the other constituents here tonight, speaking out against this plan, and we undoubtedly increase the financial contribution of the citizens of this town as well as result in undesirable behaviors that negatively affect our towns. Please think of the overall majority by the town Facebook page who elected you in their best interest and whom are also objective to this policy and would like to see this program stop in its tracks. If you do not take my word for it, look to your neighbors, and you can see this exact company used and piloted in Middletown and many other towns, and it was by the article, quote, the epic failure. The 30% reduction advertised by the company in trash use was instead single digits, and the data was actually misconstrued, and it sounds like I don't know who actually misconstrued it, but they tried to sell it that it was more productive than it actually was. The program costs were unsustainable, and ultimately the program was disbanded with a unanimous vote from every single council member to disband the program. I have said that insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. I would add that this is not only being done again in our town, but at the expense of our taxpayers. This grant is not free money. It comes from our income tax to the state. It comes from our taxes we pay on our sales tax every day. This is our money, and we need to be responsible with how it is spent. If you truly believe this is the right thing to do, I'd also encourage you to put it to a referendum and see if it stands any merit within the town people are allowed to vote. Finally, I understand the agenda today is not to actually implement the pay-as-you-go system, rather to allow the state to spend a grant from the state and start its first contract with Waste Zero. But this is a waste of taxpayer money and taxpayer money from the state of Connecticut. I agree that the work the team is doing is worth doing and is very important. And in consideration for their time and the importance of the issue, I strongly suggest that you direct them to stop going down this path, spend the time to seek an alternative or palatable option without rebalancing the budget, and look for other opportunities to offset the additional costs of waste disposal. Same as any resident in this town would do when balancing personal finances. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next. Hi.
Tom O'Connell, 38 Dickinson Road. I want to begin by acknowledging that the town is facing legitimate cost pressures around waste management, and I appreciate the board's effort to address them. I am not opposed to managing costs or encouraging waste reduction, but mandatory town trash bags are not the right approach for a community like ours. I speak as both a resident and someone with nearly 20 years in the waste and recycling industry. In mixed rural and suburban towns like ours, pay-as-you-throw bag programs often appear effective on paper, but introduce structural issues that undermine cost control and equity over time. Once residents must buy special bags on top of sorting and transporting their own waste, the transfer station becomes an optional service. Many will compare the added cost and inconvenience to private curbside pickup and opt out. This is not a hypothetical. Private haulers already operate locally. As higher income households switch to curbside Fixed costs like staffing, equipment, maintenance, compliance, etc., remain while station usage declines, and variable costs like disposal and contamination fees do not fall proportionally. Over time, this often leads to higher user fees, additional restrictions, or policy changes that place greater burden on residents, especially seniors and those on fixed incomes who continue to rely on the station. These effects may not appear during short pilots, but become clear once participation patterns settle. Meanwhile, the town has already shown that effective waste reduction strategies don't require penalizing residents. Last year's successful food recycling program worked because it combined practical action with education and clear communication. Tools that, in my experience, are far more sustainable than a unit-based pricing where ongoing success depends on continued bag sales, not just cost reduction. If the goal is to manage costs and reduce waste, I encourage the board to consider alternatives such as expanding food waste diversion and exploring additional recycling programs, improving communication and signage to reduce contamination, which is a major cost driver, reviewing hauling contracts for savings. If the gap still needs to be filled, potentially a per household permit or a flat annual fee to maintain broad participation, providing exemptions or protections for seniors and fixed income residents under any new fee structure. Grant-funded pilots can seem appealing, but vendor-driven bag programs often create predictable problems in towns like ours, especially around participation, equity, and enforcement, and can be difficult to reverse. My position is not that costs should be ignored, but that we should build on approaches already working here rather than adopt a model that risks undermining a public asset and placing greater burden on those least able to absorb it. Thank you for the opportunity to share these comments and for your continued work on behalf of you.
Thank you. Would anybody like to speak for the program before I keep going? Not that I want to stop anybody from saying the same thing over and over again, but I worked in waste management for 35 years. I appreciate your comments. They echo what I know. So I'm just curious to see if anybody wants to speak for. I'm going to go to the computer. There's somebody on the computer. Go ahead and start speaking.
Ken Holster.
Oh,
I think that
Beth.
is.
Go ahead, Beth.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, thanks. Beth Lander Morris, 27 High Meadow Road. Good evening. I wanted to express my support for the town's Sustainable Materials Management Grant that has been awarded and is on the agenda tonight. Marlborough, as you've heard, is one of many towns in the regions that has been awarded such a grant. As a member of the Sustainable Marlborough team, I have helped to coordinate the food scraps collection program at the transfer station. This grant would help us further promote the program, which has been a success, but needs to grow further, ideally through more participating households. To date, most of the promotion of the food scrap program has been conducted by a few of us volunteers. This grant will be key to helping us further expand the food scrap collection program. Unfortunately, Connecticut and New England overall are dealing with limited landfill space and a lack of other waste disposal facilities. The disposal of municipal waste really came to a tipping point in 2022 when the Hartford incinerator closed permanently after years of mechanical problems. Marlborough's last first selectman, who you might remember was a Republican, actually tried to bring this issue to the public's attention in a River East article printed 4 years ago in February of 2022. At this point, trash from our region is largely being trucked out of state, and that costs money that is ultimately put onto taxpayers. And if you're an always customer, you'll see your costs are going up too. Towns in the region need to find other ways to deal with their trash. This is why the food scrap collection program started, and this is why these grants even exist. The grant would not only support our efforts to further promote the food scrap program, but it would also allow the town to assess if paying per bag is even a viable option in the community. This assessment would include things like the economics, the percentage of the town that even uses the transfer station, and it would definitely include community forums. To do so without community engagement would be ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you. Donna, do you want to go ahead?
Justin Bodie, 90 Cheney Road. Pretty much everything Hal said and the gentleman over here said, I'm on board with. I've been in the business as well for about 36 years. And the business that I'm in is a little different. I started actually working for Always. And I turned it into, I left and started my own business to save companies money. kind of like what Waste Zero does, but a bit different. Our business was very sustainable. The Waste Zero business on its own is not sustainable. It's not a sustainable model. There's not enough money in it to pay for what it's actually saving. I would just like to put this out there, with the committee that has worked on this. I would like to offer my time, to help with this. And I think maybe there's some other guys in this room that have been in the business for quite a while that can offer some support and maybe push us down the road a little bit to really get a better look at it. I don't think, not positive, but I don't think all the data that we have has been looked at enough to make the decision just yet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
I think there was another hand on the computer and then I'll come back here. You can go ahead.
That's right.
Go ahead, Ken. I see your hand.
Okay, Ken Yolstrom, 181 South Main Street, member of the Board of Finance, speaking as an individual. I submitted a letter to the Board of Selectmen, to each member, expressing my concerns. I had a letter in the River East last week, so I'm not going to belabor that. I'll make it quick. My main concern is it seems like this is really being rushed. When Peter brought it to you guys last week, it was like, well, we need to make a decision soon, and then you pushed it to this meeting. I think there's just too many unanswered questions, questions about the benefits versus the costs. And I would recommend that the board, before they make any decision, hold a well-publicized public hearing or public information session and allow the more members of the public to come forward, and also for you to provide a detailed presentation on what this entails, what the supposed benefits are, what the costs might be, so that people can make a more informed decision and the public will have a better opportunity to voice their concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, so I'm Kathy Griffin. I live at 21 Picker Road. I do not have all of that background, so thank you, gentlemen, for sharing that. I teach fourth grade, so I work with 10-year-olds. So I'm going to start with an analogy. Pencil sharpener, $50, classroom quality pencil sharpener kept jamming, right? What's the problem? I'm not going to go out and keep spending $50, which seems like this is what's happening. We're just going to go spend money to solve a problem, instead of doing the research behind it to figure out why is this $50 pencil sharpener jamming over and over. Well, come to find out, research says electric pencil sharpeners are not meant for colored pencils. Who knew, right? Who knew that? My kids didn't know that. I didn't know that. So problem solved. Little tiny sharpeners, little tiny 50-cent pencil sharpeners solved the problem. Education is going to solve the problem. If we as residents are causing this problem for the town because we don't know all of the ins and outs of the transfer station, we don't know all the hows behind it and the whys behind it and the extra fee for this and the extra fee for that, educate us. Teach us. If you put your paper into a plastic and it goes into it, that's a problem. Teach people that. Get the information out about what's causing the problem at the transfer stations for the recycling bins, what's causing the problems for the extra weight of the garbage and all of that extra fee. Educate. Like, that's going to solve a lot of these problems instead of going to spend more money.
Thank you. Anybody else online? Put up your hand so we can see it.
See the others.
Go ahead.
Hi, Martha Smeagol, 78 Senior Road. I'm also a member of the town's conservation commission, speaking as an individual. Some folks here I actually work in environmental health and safety as my career. So when it comes to sustainability and recycling, I'm all for it. But let's not confuse what sustainability actually means. Sustainability actually means not generating the waste to begin with. So to my teacher friends, right? So it's actually education. Mm-hmm. Education is a big part of our problem. With what can be recycled, what is single stream, what is actually solid waste, what is food scraps. So again, right, being on a conservation commission here, right? Not everybody reads the River East. Not everybody shows up to the meetings. Not everybody looks at everything that we post, right? I've been there. So again, I think that there's still an educational piece. I would like to understand how this program, if it's going to be rolled out, what exactly does it look like, right? Asking the Board of Selectmen to provide a presentation on it and to educate us. What is this going to actually look like if this actually gets rolled out? Or what is the proposed? I do also feel that the town does need a referendum to vote on this, because this is a systemic change for those of us that use the transfer station. Me, twice a week, okay? And I don't have curb pickup. We are active recyclers, but again, sustainability begins with not generating the waste to begin with. I also asked the Board of Selectmen if we are also looking at waste as a whole with the transfer station. I will tell you, and I don't know if anyone else in this room sees lots of out-of-state vehicles, sees folks that you know are not from town. I asked the Board of Selectmen to further see what we can do for an enforcement of making sure that only Marlborough residents are actually indeed using the transfer station to get a true measurement of the amount of waste that is actually being passed through there. I also asked the Board of Selectmen to kind of look at other towns, so the failure that has kind of happened with this program within Middletown, and to kind of understand why that program was not successful in Middletown, or to also look at other programs such as Stonington that actually provides curbside pickup for their residents as part of this fee, which we do not currently have here in Marlborough, unless you have private service. Thank you.
One more Zoom.
Online, go ahead, Molly. Green name on. Oh, pardon.
Unmute, Molly.
Okay. This is Molly, 3 Gina Lane. I'm against it. I don't have a background like everybody else, but I think that everybody's come up with a lot of great options that are more affordable, and we should move forward doing more research before jumping into an extra expense for the residents.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I think Jeff was like physically raising his hand. There he is.
Hi,
Yeah.
this is Mary Quirk.
Oh,
And I agree that we should not be having a pay per bag. We have a wonderful town that has a wonderful system going right now. I don't see any reason to look at anything else.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jeff?
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. 54 Flood Road, Jeff Vagel. One question I have is, with this program, will it require more staffing at the transfer station that, of course, our taxes would have to pay for more staff to accommodate this program? That's a question I don't have an answer for. I was up there today and I did ask some of the staff at the transfer station, and they shook their heads and said, probably going to need 1 or 2 more employees up there to make this program go. Maybe selfishly speaking, but I speak for myself. I feel like my tax dollars pay for the transfer station, and I'm not too excited about paying any more for bags to accommodate any program. And lastly, what other towns? I know Guilford, a few other towns are doing this. I'd like to get more information on this program before we dive into it and start funding it. It's just another additional fee. And that's about all I have to say for that, but thanks for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Molly? Online?
he's already spoken.
Okay.
He just
All right.
unraise your hand, Molly.
Okay. Go ahead.
Wendell Reeves, 19 Hickory Road. I actually also was in the trash industry for 25 years. And I actually did pick up Stonington's trash, yellow bags, pink bags, and green bags. So I am definitely saying no to this because all I see this is a big money grab. I understand you're trying to recycle. The problem is once people If you're gonna do like Stonington, you're gonna have a bag that's $2, a bag that's $5. Green bag costs you, I think it's $3 or $4, whatever. What's gonna happen is they're gonna pay the $5 and they're just gonna stuff it full of everything. It ain't gonna matter. So I love what you're trying to do, but it's not gonna get it done. And another thing that I do see, there is other things we need to look at. Because I know from the trash industry, it's cheaper to take your trash and burn it than it is to recycle it. It costs you about $75 a ton to burn it. It costs you $130 to recycle a ton. And that's only been since single stream recycling took over, because now you're mixing your cardboard, your plastics, your bottles and cans. You're mixing all of this stuff. If they went back to, and I hate to say going backward to make it better, but if you put your glass in one thing and you actually did paper, plastic, you could go back to getting paid for your paper, your cardboard. But we don't do that anymore. Everybody wants one-stop shop. The other reason why I disagree with that is, I'm not going to say that on average, but we use about 2 bags a week in our regular outside trash. We have all these. If I was to go to you guys, it'd be about 30% more of a cost. And my recycling's free. So I definitely oppose this.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, John Flynn, 19 West Road. Well, this gentleman woke me up here. We used to burn our trash in Marlboro. As a kid, I seen it get burnt down there. Now, I do know, I think these 5 here on this committee, won't say you're smart, we're pretty good people. We have a lot of land over there. Why don't we open up a trash burning plant and let everybody pay us? Look, come at it a different direction. Let us make money for a change.
Can I answer that for you?
Sure.
The DEP will not allow for a trash plant to be built. That's the reason why Connecticut CCRSA didn't get rebuilt.
All right.
There's actually a couple companies trying to build new trash to energy plants, which the state keeps saying they want to make energy possible, but they won't write the permits for it.
I'm dead.
Appreciate the creative thought.
Yes.
Anybody else?
Oh, they used to burn it. I watch it burn.
Well, that's what our burn plants do. Press things, lead, yeah.
Anything else that we're gonna be discussing tonight? Go ahead on the agenda. All right. I'm gonna, is there anybody else online that wants to speak? Gonna move on. Anybody else? Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yep.
This is Rob Flynn, Board of Finance alternate, speaking as an individual. I concur with the majority here with more needs to be investigated on this, pros and cons, more information, kind of echoing a lot of the sentiments that Ken was talking about as far as more information brought public and brought to the people and so they have a better understanding of what all this is entailing. So I also would vote no for this. Encourage you to vote no for this.
Thank you.
I did first, right?
Anybody else?
Let's change the subject.
Yeah. Oh, feel free to share an independent thought and, we do the chorus, still singing, but you can sing a different tune.
Joan O'Connell, for Hall Trail. I know there's gonna be a presentation, from the senior center tonight, for an additional halftime person. And I just totally support that. I've seen such a huge, difference in the usage of, the senior center since Shoshana came, and it's been absolutely wonderful. And I support Any additional help you can get. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Elaine Adams. I'm happily a new resident of Marlborough, Connecticut for the last just 3 months now. And when I first moved to town and visited the senior center, I was struck by the generally welcoming presence of the senior center director, Shoshana Mercer. Her general, as someone new to Marlborough, that warmth and personal attention made a meaningful difference and immediately made the senior center feel like a place where I belonged. It is precisely because of this that I feel compelled to speak in support of providing part-time assistance to the director. While she does exceptionally well, there are limits to what one person can realistically provide. As a resident with chronic spine-related health issues, access to appropriate local programs is especially important for me. I sincerely appreciate the work already being done and hope that the town will consider investment that could yield meaningful differences and benefits for our senior community. Thank you for your time, consideration, and service to Marlborough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Yep. All right, I'm gonna, I think we're done with public comments. We're gonna move forward on our agenda. Number 4, additions to the agenda. 4. Any additions?
You want me to do that? Move it?
We can do it now.
Okay, all right, so I'll make a motion to move, let's see, unfinished business number 8A. Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, Deep Sustainable Materials Management, SMM grant resolution accepting the SMM grant authorization to engage waste thereof as program consultant.
All right, move it up to, we'll make it, 4A.
Before A.
Yep. I'll second that motion. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, motion carries. So, any other additions to the agenda?
Long agenda already.
Thank you very much. I agree. All right, so we are gonna move to new item 4A, under unfinished business, our Connecticut Deep SMM grant. Obviously, we have a chorus of opposition, plus some ideas. I'll speak for myself. I spent 35 years in environment, health, and safety, and I think if we weren't recycling and we weren't composting, we might get the numbers that they're proposing. But my experience in my professional work is that once you've got those, you're already eating into the bonuses. So I agree with some of the comments that we ought to look at. How do we expand composting? How do we do a better job of recycling and sort of work on what we have? I don't know that a paper bag. I mean, we use the transfer station ourselves. It's all recycling and a little bag of trash. So I'm not sure, you know, I feel like composting is a better option. So that's kind of like where my head is at. I don't know what you guys think about it. And I don't know if anything can be changed about this grant. That might be a question for Peter. Like, can we take a lesser amount of money and put it towards through work composting or some of the other ideas that have been floated here? So that's a question we have. But you look like you got something to say, Joe.
I'm ready.
Bring it.
Sure. I think that the town crew and what we've done in our town is the poster child of recycling. Roger and the crew down there has done a magnificent job. I mean, you could go down there and you know that the metal goes to the right spot and the glass and everything is sorted absolutely perfect. I'll put my fire marshal hat on for a second. And I know that any hazardous waste, any of the LP gas, any other things in there are handled right to the regulations. It is absolutely within compliance to the hazmat regs. I think they do an excellent job. And again, I'll use the phrase that they could be the poster child for recycling. And I really don't see
this company coming to our town, even though it's a nice grant. But anytime you get a grant, there's always strings attached to it. And I don't think we should put the strings onto the public. That's my own personal opinion. No, okay.
So I have two comments. I know the grants in three phases. The first one where we do investigations to understand what we can attack before, and then we would vote on if we want to move forward. But doing the math, the average family is gonna be like $120 per family per year, which doesn't sound like a lot, but unless this line item or municipal solid waste goes down $120 per family, like to me, there's no benefit. You're just adding more costs to a world where everything is already so expensive and it's not getting cheaper.
Great.
So I use the transfer station every week. And I use all the composting and the paper and the bottles and the whole thing. I do the whole thing. And the men that work there are really, really helpful at all times. I'm very happy to see all you people here because I have to agree. This is just, yeah, it's free money, but it's our money. And, you know, it's our money that we're just going to use. And are they really going to save us a lot of money? We still have to buy the bags, right? And I already buy my garbage bags, so I'm good.
The grant money is going to be used elsewhere, right? It's not like our state taxes are going to go down.
No.
Yeah.
But in the long run, this is gonna cost us
It's
money.
gonna, yeah.
It's just gonna cost us money.
See
We know
the
that.
benefit currently. I think there's other things that we can expand on. Make the composting bigger, do a community garden. People can like.
And you know what's gonna be great? When we establish those committees, we're gonna have 50 volunteers.
That's what I do.
Those committees, and we just not have to beg in the River East for week after week, because I know there are volunteers ready, willing, and able, so that's
I have
good.
all their names written down right here.
So you can't be dressing down.
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to piggyback on that. There are the gentlemen who've spoken that have experience in this field. I think would be a great asset to our town manager and to the board to help us, maneuver our way through this. It's not something that's going to be easily, resolved. And again, I appreciate everyone who's come out tonight and spoken.
Thanks, John. Could I get your contact information before you leave?
Yeah, I'm tongue in cheek, but I'm legit. Like when the call comes out, like we need to form a committee to investigate these options. I hope you guys are really gonna volunteer.
Connect with the school system. It's part of the curriculum.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how I learned about it. I had to teach it. So if you connect to the school system and get the kids involved, it's gonna make the future better.
Plus, I hear there's a bunch of kids who need to earn community service hours.
Yeah.
I don't wanna get too crazy here, but, David, do you know if there is any opportunity to request a modification to the grant at this stage to say, hey, we want to do this instead and, do more Blue Earth, or is it, we got to kill it and then apply for something different? Do you know?
I think that it is unlikely, but you never get what you don't ask for. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna call and ask.
Okay. So then, I think we should get that answer before we take any action to kill this. Let's get that answer. I will motion that we table this until the next meeting, and then with that answer, if we think we could redo it, we can take that action. And if not, if we have to start over again, then so be it.
And the
We'll take
specific
action.
answer that we are looking for is what?
Can we use any of this allocated grant money for additional compost bucket for Blue Earth? Or a recycling education program, or, any of the ideas that were floated tonight.
Does
And
it
if we
have
could
to be with Blue
reallocate, we could try that. So
Our current contracts is with Blue Earth, but there's I can check and see when that contract expires. We could change vendors.
all right, so I am going to motion that we take the action, David, please, to get the answer to whether or not we're able to modify the grant at all and reallocate the money for other sustainable activities in our town, like composting and such. And then I will motion to move the Connecticut Deep SMM grant and a resolution to accept or kill it to our next meeting, right, which is February 20th.
I'll second that.
Second by Anthony. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. So we'll revisit that hopefully with new data next time on whether or not we gotta kill it or move the money somewhere else. Awesome. All right. Moving with lightning speed ahead, we are on to item 5, new business, and we are starting with the draft budget presentation and discussion. This room should be, we should have had to move this meeting to the school because people care so much about this budget. But here we are, David, we're all ears.
We will have meetings at the school and I hope that they're very well attended. Tonight, I'm going to keep it short and just kind of hit the high points. And then if there are any questions you want to ask, I'm happy to answer those. The directive that we received from the Board of Finance was to come in right around 3.5% increase, sort of consistent with the consumer price index plus a little bit. Key drivers are payroll, which are driven by collective bargaining agreements that were already approved, already in place. There's not a whole lot that we can do about that. Health insurance, we participate in a consortium of the 3 towns that comprise the RAM Region 8 district. So that the people who work in town hall and public works and that get their health insurance from the same place as the town hall employees in Hebron, Andover, our elementary school, the RAM middle school, the RAM high school, the elementary schools in Andover and Hebron. That's the pool for health insurance purposes. What we have been told for budgeting is to expect a 15% increase this year, which is kind of like a gut punch. I am cautiously optimistic that could go down a little bit. You know, we might end up at 13 or 14%. We're not going to end up at 7%. It's not going to get cut in half. Another key driver this year is the budget for elections and the registrars of voters. That is primarily because we have the federal midterms in November and the gubernatorial election. So that tends to draw more turnout. It is also looking like there could be both a Republican and a Democratic primary for governor. So if we have to do two primaries, and the new state law, new-ish, it's not new this year, but I guess we're in the second year, mandates 1 week of early voting for primaries and 2 weeks of early voting in the general election in November. So what that means is that you have those polling places have to be staffed for an extended period of time, for significantly longer than we used to. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It has, increased voter turnout. It gives more people the opportunity to vote at a time that is convenient for them. Those are all good things. But when you're talking about the budget, it increases the cost of running the election.
David, I got a quick question about it. Is there any assistance from the state in reference to that? I watched that real closely and I see all these people waiting for someone to come in and vote. And we get 10 people the whole day. And we have 7 people here on the payroll. Is there any kind of assistance that the state will give us since it's a state mandate? It's crazy.
So the state legislature starts their short session tomorrow morning. And that goes, I believe, until May 6th. One of the things that and I'm going tongue in cheek, that they are threatening to do is provide some modest assistance for early voting. I don't know if that's really up to the legislature. Even if we get some assistance, it will not cover the entire cost. It would at best partially offset that cost. But we will not know if that is the case until a law is passed and the governor signs it. So fingers crossed.
So we should we assume that both Kathy Austin and Steve Greer are in our favor rolling the boat to get that assistance for us? Have you had conversation with them?
Steve, Representative Weir, very kindly invited me to be his guest tomorrow morning for the opening of the session. So I will be seeing him tomorrow. And among other things, I will mention that to him.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're talking about, if I got the line item right here for operating elections, 2026 approved was 8,300 and the proposal is to go to 16,500 to cover that. Am I reading that
Well,
right?
So
Where are we?
what that is sort of like election supplies. The
Okay.
big expense is on the personnel side. So if you go to the personnel budget and you go to ROV/elections,
I got it.
it doesn't show year over year, but it's about a 40% increase relative to last year. Which,
Okay.
you know, it works out to be like $30-something thousand.
Okay. Plus the supplies, so we're talking 40 grand.
Yes. And then another driver is, since we are a resident state trooper town, the state police are switching to a body cam and taser as a service contract. So it used to be.
This gonna be.
So they're trying to double dip?
But anyway.
Well, so they're trying to double dip. So what we currently do is the town of Marlboro owns our body cameras and our tasers. And when one breaks or needs to be replaced, we buy a new one. And, you know, so far, the big expense for body cameras is storing the video. It's lots of hours of videos that be stored up in the cloud and backed up, because if you lose it, you're in deep trouble. You know, if someone wants to look at it later. So that gets expensive when you start talking about that many hours of video. Up until now, the state police at Troop K have shouldered much of that cost on our behalf. You know, we have the capacity to plug our body cameras into their system, upload the videos, and they do it for us, which has been magnificent. They are outsourcing that, contracting that service out to a company. So there will be an annual fee to store the videos in their cloud, and basically to rent the body cameras and the tasers. The pro is, you know, if one breaks, they give you a new one. The con is you pay for it every single year. And it's
Usually
expensive.
doesn't save money.
It is when I do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, right, you said this was a like a policy decision by the state police?
Yes. So we are not only allowed, but we are, because we're a resident state trooper town, required to latch onto their contract so that our body cameras function with their system.
And so is this under public safety? Is this equipment maintenance repair? Where is this increase?
I believe so. And I believe that the contract for those things is roughly $17,000 per year. So those are the key drivers.
So I have some questions on that. I would like to know, and go back to a couple of public comments from our last meeting about who gets the data, anybody who's reading in the news that like you can log on and watch cars go by and spy on people if like the safety settings and the controls are not set up. People set up some of these cameras without any password control, just like, you know, really.
I think those are the flock cameras though.
Not just the fog cameras, but yeah, that was one of them. So I guess I would like to understand, like, we're paying for this. I would like to understand how the system works and how the privacy of residents is protected through like their procedures and protocols.
So
around
I
the data.
am happy to ask Trooper Bernier, our resident state trooper, to come and give a presentation about how all this works.
That'd be
I would like to think that the Connecticut State Police, you know, have a solid protected system.
Yeah, and I think
professionally
The
managed, but
legislature is taking action on this too, so I just want to make sure we're aligned with that.
absolutely.
But yeah, let's have them come educate us. Cool, all right.
Okay. In terms of key cost savings, we are in the process of hiring a finance director. Yay! After after years of going without, and simultaneously applying for an RPIP grant. I believe it's a Regional Performance Incentive Program. It is a state grant that is intended to incentivize small towns like Marlborough to regionalize services and to cooperate. We already used this grant when we regionalized our building official services. So we joined a consortium based out of Bolton. Our building official is here for a significant period of time. He has an office here. He's available by phone. You can schedule appointments with him. He's doing a great job. But by regionalizing with Bolton, we not only have sort of backup if he gets sick or injured, which we didn't have before, but we also have a more resilient system. What happened, we were in a difficult situation when our former building official retired. How do you find a certified part-time building official? Turns out there aren't very many of them who are certified and want to only work part-time. For a while, it worked to hire people who were retired from a larger community, but eventually even that pool dried up. People said, I want to retire for good. I don't want to, work even part-time. So that was, that which we did last year was operationally and financially a tremendous success. So that's kind of the introduction of the RPIP program. And what that does is when you regionalize a service, you submit the budget to the state and they pay for half of it for the first 3 years. After 3 years, you pay the full freight. But ideally, if you structured it appropriately, you're still saving money relative to running your own independent system in a small town. So we are taking that and applying the same principle to our finance director. So we will be sharing a finance director with the town of Woodbridge, which is a little far away. It's down by New Haven. But it turns out that this gentleman lives in between the two towns. So he does not mind. He is a very experienced. He's actually been the town of Woodbridge's finance director for 25 years, since 2001. Apparently has them running, my words, not his, like a Swiss clock. And I look forward to working with him and gaining from his expertise. So we are in the process of coming up with an intermunicipal agreement to share that finance director and apply for one of these RPIP grants. So we're going to get excellent quality finance director services while sharing the cost burden with another town, and for the first 3 years, sharing part of the cost burden with the state. So that is both operationally and financially a big win. Then, as many of you know, for the last several years, essentially since I walked through the door for the first time, we have been catching up on audits. We were several years behind when I was hired. We are within weeks of getting caught up on our audits. We have done, I think this will be the 4th audit that we've done in 2.5 years. So, and the first one, the subsequent ones have gone much faster. The first one required a lot of cleanup before we could even do the audit because we did not have a finance director and our records were not in great shape. So I am very, very excited to, number one, soon be caught up on our audits. But what that also means is that a line item in the budget that we had for consultants to help us, clean up our finance office and get these audits done can be reduced way down. We're going to reduce those fees. And then we also, as is required by state law, have an annual audit. We have to pay an independent audit firm to do that. And early on, because our audit firm was having to spend additional time, auditing us and doing things that they ordinarily would not have to, our fees were higher. I am pleased to report that the most recent audit was actually less expensive. They charged us a lower fee than the audit prior, and we expect the next audit to be even less expensive still. So we are actually trending in the right direction. So those are our key cost savings. You have each received some spreadsheets. The version that you got at the beginning of this meeting is very similar to the one you received on Friday, except I added a percent change column. I apologize, I did not do that earlier. I hope that is helpful.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I will also note that under appointed personnel compensated absences, that is something that last night at the Board of Finance meeting, our auditor actually talked about it. There is a new GASB rule around how you budget for and report compensated absences, which is basically, what that is when you have a longtime employee who accrues vacation and sick time and any other sort of leave time that you may offer, and then they retire or take a job somewhere else, depending upon your personnel policies, they might be in line to receive kind of a significant lump sum payment to sort of buy back that time. We have several employees, really basically 3, who have worked here for a long time. They have accrued a lot of that time, and I'm not allowed to ask when they're going to retire. I mean, they are all of an age when they could, if they so chose. I have been working with our auditors, with Sydney in the finance office to kind of figure out, okay, what is an appropriate amount to budget in case, 1 or 2 of these people chooses to retire and cash out. That's what that line is. And so that line I changed to $45,000. I believe in the version of the budget we received on Friday, it was $20,000. So we're being a little bit more cautious. Now, what happens if we budget this money and then all 3 of them decide to stay? That would be magnificent. They're wonderful employees. They do good work. I'd love for them to stay. What happens if that happens? Well, then we have a surplus in our budget. That surplus gets pulled back into the undesignated fund balance, and the Board of Finance can apply it toward next year's budget. So it's not like the money disappears. We still have it, and it can be in a future year reallocated to something else. But that's the proper and appropriate way I have learned, given the new GASB rule, to do this.
A question. I'm obviously using the percent change column. So under land use, contracted services, there's a massive percentage.
Yes.
Can you please explain what that is?
You bet. So that is, I talked earlier about the regional consortium based out of Bolton. So we pay them, it's either twice a year or quarterly. They send us an invoice and we pay for our share. And last year I budgeted that on the land use operating personnel line. You see it was $49,250. It went down to 0. And that was at the request of our finance department. They said it's just a lot easier for us if you put that on the contracted services line. So that increased from 7,000 to 85,000.
Okay, so where was the minus?
4 lines above of that.
That same section.
51,135 land use personnel. It went from 49,250 to 0.
Dave, I have a question.
Yeah.
We in the past had in our budget almost $750,000 we called professional services. And we had a bunch of different people under that list. Do we still have that line item, professional service? What happened? And there was a group of employees that were in there.
Yep.
Talk to me about that.
So what I did, I believe starting last year, and I've continued it this year, is instead of lumping everyone together, in the interest of greater transparency, so people can actually see what different things cost, including the transfer station and the town manager's office and public works and the finance office and elections and all that is, I presented the personnel budget by department. So instead of lumping everyone, or almost everyone, I wouldn't say everyone, almost everyone on that one line, I've broken it out, and that's the sheet that you can see as the personnel.
Correct.
I would also note that within a matter of weeks, our incoming finance director has done a magnificent job helping me put all of this data into a tool called ClearGov. And so very soon we will put ClearGov on our website, and you will be able to see the budget presented in a really easy to read format that shows several years of history. You can click on it. There will be narrative explaining what different things are. It's not to say that you won't have any questions. In fact, I hope that you will, and that you'll come to the meetings and ask them. But I am really excited for the first time this year. It's not quite done. That's why we're still using these spreadsheets tonight. But I am really excited to present to the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Finance, and ultimately the community, the budget in, I think, the most clear, transparent way that it has ever been presented in Marlborough.
Which the surrounding towns using that same system.
Yeah. Yes.
I know there are.
A lot of, it is a fantastic tool.
ClearGov. UOB, ClearGov, they talked about it at the CMO meeting, and there's been people singing its praises, towns, not salespeople, towns that use this. This is awesome. And it answers everybody's questions, and it makes everything easier. Anybody can go online, look up, and it's, like David said, it's just very transparent.
I will also note, if you look on the personnel budget, several changes relative to the one that you received on Friday. First, I added a line, it is right above the grand total, called overtime. That is almost exclusively our public works crew. Think about last week when we had that massive snowstorm. They came in, we're working around the clock to keep our 30 miles, 60 lane miles of roads clear for everyone. And they did, in my opinion, a magnificent job under some very difficult circumstances. Much of their work was done over the weekend, and therefore they are eligible for overtime. So I looked at the actual amount of overtime for the last several years. There is actually, I guess this shouldn't surprise anyone, but significant variability since it is tied to weather. And it doesn't necessarily have to be snow. I mean, if there's freezing rain on a Sunday night and Monday happens to be Martin Luther King Jr. Day in January, then they come in, and because it's a holiday, it's not time and a half, it's double time in their contract. So this overtime can add up very quickly, but we also want, and in fact, I'm very grateful that they are willing to come in and salt the roads and plow and make sure that we're not sliding around like we're on ice skates. So
I got a question, under public safety, canine control operating,
yes,
jumping up 200%. Can you talk about that? And we talked about regionalization for
Yeah.
animal control, and what is that?
yeah, that is a great question. So our longtime animal control officer retired effective December 31st. He provided good services at extraordinarily low cost. There is no one, willing to do what he did for what we did. I'm not to put too fine a point on it. That is just the reality. What I am working on doing and what I have budgeted to do is to join a regional consortium based out of East Haddam that provides animal control services. They currently cover East Haddam, East Hampton, and Columbia. So it's kind of, Marlborough would be kind of a natural addition.
And so that fee for us, it would be approximately $31,000 a year, but it would be 24-hour coverage. They have several people, so someone always has the phone with them. There's something, some problem at 2 o'clock in the morning, someone will come. They also operate a facility where, animals can be, safely and humanely, kept, until their owners are found. And they just provide all of the services that the state not only requires, but that we would expect. And relative to certainly what it would cost us to do it on our own, under these new circumstances, that is a bargain. And we will. Oh, I couldn't hear you, so.
I said, do they do bats? And I said, I'm
Oh,
just,
do they do bats?
I already hired a guy.
Okay. We are also going to apply for one of these RPIP grants. So we'll do it for the finance director and the animal control officer. I am very confident that the finance director one will be approved because that's one of those very hard to fill positions that was kind of the reason that the state legislature created the program in the first place. So I think that they will be really excited about that one. I don't know if we will get approved for the animal control officer one. So we may be on the hook, so to speak, for the full 31,000. If we do get the RPIP grants, then they will pay for half of that. So it would only be 15,000. So we will apply and hopefully we get it.
I have a question. All the custodial lines are zero.
Yes.
Let's go for that one.
We don't need to clean anymore, right? No. So,
Bring your own way back.
Too soon. So one of the proposed additions, you'll see two for the senior center, the part-time senior center assistant, and then a part-time van driver. Up above, there is a full-time cleaner / maintainer in the public works department. So we currently have a contractor who comes in. We pay them $2,000 a month, $24,000 a year to clean this building, the two firehouses, the library, the public works building, and the senior center. And
You said the contractor charges us $2,000 a month?
$2,000 a month. But depending on the facility, some people are happier with the quality of their services than others. And so I spoke with my counterparts in several neighboring towns and said, hey, how do you do this? Do you have contractors? Do you have a member of your staff? And they said, all of them. I mean, it wasn't just one. All of them said, we're done contracting it out. You have no control over them and quality just is not where it needs to be. So they all, hired employees to do their cleaning. So what I am proposing, I don't think that, even with all of those facilities, I don't think it's a full-time job. It is at best sort of a half-time job. But I think that we will be able to attract a more diligent, more capable person if we make it a full-time position. So what I am proposing is that we hire someone who can spend roughly half their time cleaning the buildings, and then the other half, they would be kind of in entry-level maintainer with the public works department. We would not require a CDL, so we could justify paying them less than the other maintainers. They could, if they were needed, still plow in one of the small trucks. They could not drive one of the big trucks, but they could do that. But more importantly, during the summer months, they could lead the lawn care crew. We usually hire 2 or sometimes 3 summer helpers to mow the soccer fields, the baseball fields, take care of the cemeteries. And if I had a nickel for every time last summer that it rained for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, the grass grew like crazy. Our crew was out all day Thursday and Friday getting the fields ready for weekend soccer and baseball and all of that.
And then wouldn't you know, someone calls me and says, I have extended family coming into town and we'd really like to visit the cemetery. And, the crew did not have time. And the cemetery has 6 or 8 inch tall grass. And then the family comes and they're upset because the town of Marlborough looks bad, like we don't care about our cemeteries. And so I think that by having this person who could essentially devote themselves to leading the 3 seasonal hires, they could take really, really top-notch care of our outdoor facilities and our fields. And then the other maintainers and other crew members who up until now have had to spend more time cutting grass. It's actually very expensive we pay them more. It's pretty expensive to put them on a lawnmower. We'd rather pay someone, who is at a lower hourly wage to cut the grass. So those folks can tend to all of the other important work that can only be done during construction season. Crack filling, catch basin repair, road resurfacing, catch basin cleaning, roadside mowing, all of those things that need to be done that sometimes don't get done as frequently or as well because they're stretched thin. So that's the idea there. If we were to hire a full-time person to do that, the total cost would be $72,715. But we would no longer need to hire the third-party cleaner, the contractor, and that individual could, with a pickup truck, empty the trash at Lish Park and at a couple of other places around town, including that right now we pay Always. We have a transfer station and we still pay Always to pick up the trash at a couple of town facilities. If we had this person, then we could cancel our contract with Always. So once you factor in those cost savings, and that's why the custodial line items were all zeroed out, the net cost would be $42,800. So if you approve the new position, then the net would be $42,865. If you opt not to approve the position, that's fine, but we would have to put roughly $30,000, back for Always and building cleaners. How do you beat the union contract to make that work? Because of maintainer one, normally in the maintenance field, I worked for DOT for 10 years. Yeah. So, maintainer one, granted, you may have a non-CDL position, but you still are only authorized to run certain equipment at one point or time. That now becomes a maintainer two job, lawn tractor, backhoe, all this stuff. So how do you beat that?
We're not gonna beat anything. We're gonna follow all.
Yeah, but that's my point.
Appropriate rules. Thank you for bringing it up. So let's take an action item.
Yep.
I have a concern about finding the right person. I love everything that you said, but it sounds like 2 different people to me in 2 different part-time roles. And what this gentleman has said sort of gives me even more concern now. But obviously we need to do a little bit more homework and understand like how do we classify the position and all that good stuff. And can they do everything that you listed and still fit the job description?
I got one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Not to cut the budget conversation short, we do have a lot of other stuff. What was the final increase? You said 3.5%?
Yes, I backed into that 3.5 number. We had the personnel, we had the operating, and then we can either talk about it tonight or at your next meeting, the capital budget. Look, the capital needs in this town, as in every town, this is not a criticism. There's a list a mile long, right, of various things that need to be repaired at Firehouse 2. The roof on this building is leaking in a couple of spots.
So does your 3.5% take those other expenditures into account?
So what I put together a budget for this year and a partial budget. It is in progress for the next 5 years. So we obviously can't fix
this one you're talking about?
Yes, yeah, that one.
Okay, so we can't address every need in one budget. That would,
Okay.
our taxes would go sky high and that wouldn't be fair to anyone. But we do need a plan in place to take it in chunks and address a little bit of it and kind of play catch up every year. So that we can, maintain basically level taxes, but address these needs. And one of those needs, which you will see when you take a closer look at the budget, is really beginning in a meaningful way to renew our public works fleet.
Okay. Thank you.
Some of the things that are going up here, David, electric, heating, oil, propane, that do we benefit from any kind of like multi-town buying or anything on that stuff? To get better deals, or are we on our own?
So for propane, we purchase from CPP, but they sell it to us at the state bid price. There is a state contract that is a little bit lower than what you probably pay at home. And they love, they're in town, they love delivering to us, and they have agreed to match the state bid price for us.
Okay, great.
For electricity, what we do is I have worked in the past. In fact, it's a good reminder, I need to hedge sort of the next tranche. But what we do is we collaborate with the school and we say, hey, we have all of these facilities. The broker looks at, how many kilowatt hours we consume each year, and then goes out and essentially does an RFP, different providers, suppliers sort of bid or respond to us. I think we're currently with Constellation, but again, we need to go out and
So the same
enter
thing
into
you
our
do with
next hedge.
Energize BT for our houses, you're doing at a municipal level. Okay, got it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sue, the problem is the delivery charge. You can buy power up really quick, but you look at the other one, that delivery charge.
I know.
It's-
Hey, those executives need their multi-billion-dollar bonuses, Joe.
Yeah.
I mean, they need to step home. Come on. All right.
But assessment,
Here's another 100%. The dollar isn't that huge, but I'm looking at tech and hardware support. No,
Which
I'm on the senior center, actually. I'm looking at percent changes.
Mhm.
So it's 6,000, but it's a doubling of programs. Maybe we'll get that in our
Oh.
next agenda item.
Well, you might. What that is Shoshana was hired last January, so she's been here for just over a year.
Got it.
We gave her a very modest budget for her first year, and she really stretched that and in my opinion, outperformed, did a magnificent job with it. And I think that if we expect her to continue to grow the programming at the senior center and continue to attract more of our residents to programs there, then we need to give her a little larger budget.
There's another one on the last page. Oh, no, never mind. It's freaking medical. Of course it goes up. No, close your ears. So I'm in the fire department section. Again, I'm looking for big percentage increases. So physicals, that's medical, of course, that jacks up every year. We all get to pay that. But there's a contracted services line item too that went up 20%. Do we know what that is? More specifically?
We look at my notes. Because I do have notes for just about every line item.
I know, ClearGov is gonna have them all.
It is.
Save us all
I'm really
time.
excited.
We
Okay,
can turn the lights out and save some of our electric bills too.
okay, so you're down in the fire department,
Yeah,
which,
For 360.
just as contracted services.
Contracted services.
And it went up from 15 to 18, 20%.
54,
Looking for large percentage increases that are more than a couple $100.
From 15,000 to 18.
Went from 11 to 15,000. Right in the middle.
15 to 18. Contracted services 54,360.
Yes.
Okay, that is for hose testing, ladder testing, and SCBA testing, which is their breathing apparatus.
Yes, I'm familiar.
Yep.
Okay. That's important.
We can bring it.
There's another 200% increase under public safety. Is that?
That
that's
is
a
the
camera
body
thing?
cam and taser contract.
Office of Homes?
Most of that
Huge
is,
increase in that too.
yeah, hopefully that's sort of a one-time thing. Our police office down at Firehouse 2 needs a new printer.
$1,000 for a printer?
It's 100, the ink is changed.
That sounds pretty. Yeah, right.
That's only good.
I'm too far from the proof.
Can we talk about capital? I want to talk about capital.
Thanks.
This is where the big dollars are.
That's all we will do.
So there's a bunch of culverts on here and a few of them have, you're putting forth as your recommendations for 2027, which
Yeah.
I'm assuming ties in with some assessment and plan of
Yes,
what's
indeed.
the worst and all of that. Can you fill those of us who are new in on the logic?
Sure. The Johnson Road culvert, it's a double barreled culvert. It is, we've known for several years that it's in poor condition. I think that we tried to do it, last year. And ultimately, we're forced to postpone it to, put forth a reasonable mill rate, which we can all support. But we finished the South Buckford culvert last year, and so if you haven't seen it yet, go have a look. It's beautiful. The water flows so nicely through it. And now we are ready to do the Johnson Road culvert lining. We're not actually replacing it. There's this really cool chemical substance you can line it with. Even though it is still very expensive, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. It would be easily twice that, if not more, to replace entirely. And that liner should, so we are told, extend the life by 50 years.
Do we get, is that in writing? What's the product warranty? $500,000.
Yeah. I don't know how they come up with these guarantees. I assume there is some kind of controlled lab testing, where they can, make a claim, a credible claim.
Right.
That it's going to last that long. I don't think that the product has existed for 50 years for them to actually say, we applied it here and look how well it lasted. So.
I got a quick question for David. We've had the audits done recently. Talk to us about surpluses, and if there are any, how much are they, and are they going into this budget?
So the most recent audit that was completed in November showed a surplus of right around $450,000. So that's great. Before we asked the Board of Finance to apply any surplus to the budget, and I'm sure that they will. That's going to be part of a discussion later in the process. I would like to finish the 25 audit and see whether there is I'm going to hedge my bets and say surplus or deficit. I don't think that the surplus will be as large. I'm not expecting a $450,000 one, but I am confident that there will be a surplus, that it's not a deficit. So
When do you think we're gonna have that?
hopefully in April. That's the plan.
And they could be applied to this budget if we want.
Exactly. So there's that. Also, you will see the Rivendell Road paving, which if you have not driven on it recently, it does actually need to be done. But that, which is in here for $275,000, can be paid for with state aids called TAR, Town Aid Roads. So even though that says 275,000, that ultimately will not be taxed.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
we
know.
pay the state taxes, but it will not contribute to our local mill rate. How's that for an explanation? And then the other piece, you'll see kind of the 5-year plan around all of these public works vehicles, some of which are eye-wateringly expensive. I mean, the tri-axle dumpster truck, that's what we use to take trash from the transfer station, to the various, the solid waste goes to one place, the recycling goes to another place. That's $350,000. I mean, they last for a long time. It's a great truck, but
Miles, how many miles are on the existing?
the existing has, I think, 225,000. And it can last. I mean, that's not planned until 2029. So, we're not saying we have to replace it tomorrow. We're saying we should start thinking about replacing it. But what we do have in this budget are 2 public works vehicles. One would be a single axle dump truck, which we're estimating based on the state contract, which we can latch onto, would be about $195,000. And then a Ford F-450, upfitted with the body that we need and plow and all that, would be $110,000. Now, there is at your disposal, not the Board of Finance, not anyone else's, this is exclusive to the Board of Selectmen. That's how the state law is written. We have a pot of money from the speed camera that right now sits at roughly $212,000.
I mean, it sits at single axle dump truck level?
It does. And so if at some point you chose to use that money to purchase the single axle dump truck, then that would not, touch the mill rate. That would not, that could be sort of taken off and it would not cause the mill rate to go higher.
Is there anything else on here that could be considered for that speed camera money? Is there any qualifying rules we have to follow? I guess I should have asked first.
So I will reread the specific rules, but it's basically transportation and transportation safety. So you could buy a police car, but you could use it for road paving. You could buy a public works vehicle because they're used for fixing drainage. Roads drain properly. They plow when there's snow. I mean, that fits squarely in the keeping the road safe category.
Do we need a resolution or motion or something in our future meeting if we want to do that? What's the mechanism to follow the rule on allocating the money?
It's a great question because we've never spent any of that money. I'll find out exactly what we have to do. I think it may just be a vote.
Okay, cool.
But if we need a resolution, we'll do it.
And we still have a lot of money coming in each month.
Well, no, actually,
Gone down.
it's gone way down.
Okay.
So we collected a lot up front and then it is just plummeted. So I mean, and frankly, that's good, right? The purpose was to make that road safer, to cause people to slow down, and that's exactly what it's done. So people are slowing down, and we're not collecting nearly as much money.
It looks like we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more speed cameras over the next 5 years. Okay, for this fleet. I'm just saying, Dave, I'm just doing math. It's your key.
Yeah, but isn't it like 90 grand for one of those cameras?
Bill and David here, and not to interrupt you, but because of the hour, could we move on to, if the budget's good, let's keep the meeting moving to
other folks do and
They all have.
keep bored.
The quiet order, any, we're good?
Quiet.
Quiet here.
Second Joe's motion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I want to dive into each line, but
Yeah, we have,
I personally want to dive into each line, but not right now.
All right, so we
What
can,
wants versus needs.
So it's just a discussion. We're not approving anything. right?
nope. Nope, this is just preliminary.
Continue the discussion next meeting for the budget.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. This is just a preliminary discussion, so it's gonna be on the agenda again. All right, next up is presentation on Commission on Aging regarding a proposed new part-time position at the Marlboro Senior Center.
sure.
The floor is yours.
We're gonna take that before we, okay? So, thank you for allowing us to come tonight and talk to you. The reason for our presentation is multifold. We want to provide insight into one, Marlboro's senior population, who are we? The role of senior centers in our lives, trends in senior centers, and staffing in neighboring towns, and therefore justification for our request for different spending. So, oh, it's there. Perfect. Yep, right, okay. So there are 1,003 residents in this town, 65 and over. That's according to data from the Healthy Aging Data Reports. I think many of that information from the American Community Survey, which is one of the Bureau of the Census. They do sampling of towns every year in between the 10-year census. And the reason I even raised that is that when actually looking at our voter rolls, 65 and above is 1,300. So there's a discrepancy there. There's at least 100 or so more than what the 1,003. But if you say 1,003, that's 16% of the total population. We are the 10th fastest growing population of 75 and over in the states in terms of the total population. So we are an aging population. 9% of our seniors 65 and above live alone. 10% report having difficulty living independently. And that means more than just those who live alone, but sometimes couples have difficulty living independently. And that's important to understand because seniors who have trouble living alone require additional social services. 4.5% have annual income below the poverty guideline, and that compares to our total population of 9% below the poverty. And 275 residents 65 and above in 2024 were served by DSS.
So on the next slide, what is a senior center? I just wanted to clearly define it as there are some common misconceptions and outdated ideas. So senior centers offer a variety of programs and services. They are dynamic hubs that connect aging adults to a community that helps them stay healthy, safe, and independent. Our senior center is growing very lively. Also, in our community where community space is limited, we also host many local agencies such as the American Red Cross, the Ambulance Association, Parks and Rec host some of their programming after hours in our space as well.
So just to highlight really the importance of what the senior center provides. There is certainly social engagement and health and older adults are related. So people who are isolated often have much worse health outcomes. And social engagement certainly went down with COVID. You didn't interact. Not terribly, it went down a lot for all ages. It has rebounded since, but still 1/3 of all seniors in studies state that they experience loneliness and or are socially isolated. And remember, 9% of our residents say live alone. So, but more social engagement is linked to greater life satisfaction and fewer depressive symptoms over time. More frequent social engagement is associated with slower rates of cognitive decline, even among those experiencing loneliness or depression. Increased social isolation is linked to higher risk of mortality, disability, and dementia in older adults. Strong social networks are associated with better physical and mental health scores in older individuals. And social relationships involving shared activities provide more meaningful support, companionship, and encouragement for healthy behaviors. And again, this is largely what senior centers and our activities provide.
So next is a national shift and approach to aging well. So, findings from the 2023 National Council on Aging Survey. Like I spoke of before, there's a stigma about senior centers serving older adults, as opposed to being a more inclusive, broader definition that includes younger, older adults. So we'll break down those generations in the next slide. There's a need to re-image senior centers, rebrand to attract and engage specifically the younger, older adults, but everyone in general. That can be by using social media, the types of programs we offer and that we offer. Long-serving staff are now retiring in large numbers, creating a need for more innovative and future-focused leaders. And there is limited funding opportunities for senior centers. The majority in Connecticut are municipal funded, but others are independent nonprofits and donation grant based. Generating and sustaining key partnerships is key to modernizing. So some of those partnerships include healthcare providers, educational institutions, and community and civic organizations. So I plan on modernizing by including virtual and hybrid programming, honoring the classic programs that make senior centers, so bingo cards, while offering newer programs like hiking or more intergenerational community events. So in the next slide, there is interest and vary by age of seniors. So currently we serve 3 separate generations: the silent generation, the boomer generation, and Generation X. They all have different values. They all have different expectations of what the senior center is and means to them. So I can read over these or just, so the silent generation, they're more individual focused. They value rules and policies, and they're very price conscious. They expect hungry meals, organized clubs, and free classes. The boomer generation values choice, quality, and making a difference. These are all generations. And they expect their senior centers to have high quality programming, short-term focused commitments, demonstrated impact and choices in everything. Currently, we are serving Generation X. They also have different values and expectations. They also value choices, and right now the oldest, or maybe the youngest, the oldest Gen X will turn 65 in the next coming years. So we anticipate serving them as a larger cohort. Because all of these generations have different values and expectations, we're working and anticipating on disseminating a community-wide survey of what specifically they're looking for so that we can serve them in that best way.
Do you have access to like the flash vote thing to do surveys? Okay, great.
Yep. So, East Hampton, I reached out to their, chair of the Commission on Aging to ask them what they, knew about, surveys and about what, they actually contacted the, National, Council on Aging, to help them expand their senior services, senior center services. You may have noticed there was a letter to the editor this week. I believe it was, I was away, but, he told me he put it in the newspaper, where they're asking for more staff in East Hampton for their senior center. But, the National Center on Aging actually gave them recommendations for how they could modernize. So they actually came and looked at the center and talked to them. And so, and I think these are very relevant for our center as well. Most people do not know about their senior center or have the wrong ideas about them. It's difficult to get people to understand exactly what's offered at the senior center and what role they play. And they talked about marketing plays a big role in addressing these concerns. So that costs, but marketing is important. Senior centers need to expand their range of programs, which is what Shoshana is working on, and bring them to a level that includes broader interests in areas like performing arts, intergenerational programming, and continuing education. It's exactly what Shoshana is addressing as well. And to encourage seniors aged 60 to 69 to participate, senior centers need to have more flexibility in scheduling, so that evenings, weekends, outside events. And as Shoshana mentioned, we want to administer a survey. It will probably cost $1,000 or so to do so. But commissions on aging should, and senior centers and more generally, should be surveying the population every couple of years, because we are changing generations. And so we need to understand, and I don't know when the last time there was a survey conducted for seniors, maybe never. So we'll need another $1,000
before moving on to the next slide, I just want to mention that our senior center's membership opens at 55. So, that's a base. Interpretive term. So our next slide is a comparison of budgets and staffing of our neighboring towns. Peggy had a great term when we were talking about this earlier. It's really apples to hot dogs. Every town is so different, from senior center to what they offer. So senior center personnel, social service director or departments, transportation and nutrition staff. So this is a lot of work put together, but it's apples to hot dogs. So if you look through, we have the towns, the population of 65 plus, and the percentage of that makes the total population. Whether or not the town has a separate social services director and department is crucial. I serve as both for 55 and older in Marlboro. And then also the staff. So the staff includes transportation coordinators, nutrition preparers and servers, program assistants, admin assistants. There's different terms for every town. So you can see that around our towns and towns that compare in population, Haddam is on there as only one part-time person 4 days a week. We got this data from the East Hampton White Paper. The Connecticut Association of Senior Center Personnel shares some demographics and statistics within their organization and municipal website. So Haddam actually has 3 staff. So the only towns that are operating with 1 staff is Marlboro.
We have the lowest staffing. That includes social services, senior center director, and transportation of all of them. And you look at Andover with just 651 seniors, they have 1 full-time and 5 part-time.
Wow.
So we're doing a lot with a little.
Yeah.
Actually, Shoshana's doing a lot with a little.
And so lastly, the presentation is, we're requesting for an additional part-time assistant. So I serve multiple roles. I'm a senior center director, so I oversee program and planning, facilities, policies, procedures, grants, transportation coordinator. So I take reservations, print daily log sheets, collect and report data, and social services for 55 and plus. So I'm the social worker, case management, do application assistance. So last year, I started in January, started really tracking everything as of March. So from March to December, I secured close to $20,000 in assistance from grant funding. or in assistance and grant funding to benefit Marlboro residents of all ages, so that can be broken down. We had a program come in that gave out free iPads for seniors and people with disabilities, the senior farmer market nutrition program, energy assistance. I served as the liaison for the United Way Rapid Response Funds. They had 2 rounds last year. Each round was $2,000 each. So we were able to give out $4,000 to 11 households within Marlboro. Also, was granted the Marlboro Greater Together Community Fund. So, for the purchase of new chairs in the senior center, which is, over $5,000. On the programming side, the senior center offered many one-time events and recurring events. So last year we had 30 one-time events and we've added 3 reoccurring for a total of 12. We also added 2 new vehicles. We currently have 1 part-time driver. Transportation, we served 32 individuals last year with 347 rides. That number is from half of the year when we started our new system. Membership has also doubled. So as of last year, 91 people joined the senior center. We have a total of 173 active members. We offer membership to seniors from other towns, as historically they had to go other places to find and fill their needs. So we're hoping to get them back, or get our people back and welcome other neighboring towns.
So, we put this together before, getting a better estimate of how much it would cost and didn't know that it actually was in the budget. So you have a better estimate of how much it would cost. But David also mentioned the RPIP, programs, and I don't know if that's a possibility if we were to share a part-time assistant with another town. Say we get them, mornings and another town gets them, afternoon, whatever. The benefit of giving someone a full-time job versus a part-time is benefits, which blows up the budget, but I mean, it gives someone benefits. I think it's very important to also share with you that in the fiscal year 23-24, the budget, the approved budget, budgeted for 1 full-time and one full-time senior center director and a half a social worker. Never half Shoshana's the social worker, but there was really 1.5 employees approved that year. That was before us, before David. But that was approved, but never hired. So we hope that you will support the addition of half an employee, either be part-time or shared as full-time over the town.
I got one question, real quick. You want to go first?
Go ahead.
David, did you figure this position, one new part-time position for here in the budget that you presented to us just a little while ago?
It is not in there. If you wanted to add it, the total would be $26,310.
On the first page as an addition down below.
Yeah.
Okay. 26 grand?
26,310.
Yeah, thank you.
How do we take any other questions?
Yeah, my question, Shoshana, is awesome job getting grant funding and all that stuff. Can you kind of how much did that enable this year? And do you see the opportunity to get it again this year? Or
Absolutely, there's an opportunity to get more funding. I just don't have the capacity with all of my roles to dedicate time to
grant writing?
completing grant writing. Absolutely. So we secured the Marlboro Greater Hartford Together Mumbo Jumbo grant. Almost every year there's a DOT transportation grant that I think we've gone for, we continue to go to. There's 2 of them, and then there's also the North Central Area Agency on Aging offers an Older Americans Act grant. And that
just announced tonight.
It was just announced tonight.
Okay.
They both have deadlines in March, so that's something that I would love to go for and support.
And then the other question I had, I keep saying it because I see people post on Facebook every other day. My kid needs community hours. Do you liaise with like Ram High School to try to get maybe students who have interest in supporting senior populations? Like, is there any task that they could assist or any programs that they could assist with too?
I would love to one day. Right now, we don't have the foundation to support volunteers. We're working, myself and the commission are working on getting policies and procedures solidified before we start bringing people in. We just have a transportation policy. I'd love to get a member handbook completed this year, which will include a volunteer application and policy.
Don't forget, AHM also has that same program. You can call AHM and they can sign you up for community, hours that you need. So if you get stuck, somebody calls you, you can refer them to AHM. Tessa?
Thank you.
Closed.
I have a question. Using your numbers, 1,000 residents, which is 16% of the total population, but only 13% of the 1,000 actually use the center, which is 2.25% of the town's total population that uses the center. So I don't think it's explicitly stated here for what that new person would do. How much are they taking off your plate? What are their roles and responsibilities?
Sure, absolutely. So
how do we expand that 2.25% to something higher?
Sure. So what the administrative assistant, I'm proposing would be administrative support for myself and member support. So, they would answer incoming calls, respond to inquiries in a friendly and professional manner, register new members, assist members with their records, maintain and assist in organizing the senior center so it can function at a high level, calendar wise. They would also use my senior center to receive transportation requests and take over the dispatching, which takes a significant amount of time. It's not, I would like a ride here. It's, hi, I need Dave to bring me here. And I'm like, well, where's here? Oh, he's taken me there before. I'm like, all right, the address. No, I've never asked the address. So it takes up a lot of time for the transportation. Also, keeping statistics and assisting me in doing reporting for transportation. I would also love this person to assist in programs, activities, and events. So researching, coordinating, and field trips and in-house programs. Ideally, I see this person running a once-a-month craft so that we don't have to pay someone or find someone that's specific in something to come do something like that. Lastly, I would like them to assist me in marketing and communications. Right now, we have a quarterly newsletter. I'd like to get a more official monthly newsletter to all of our members. Advertise and deliver east and our social media.
Are you looking for someone with like qualifications specifically, or are you looking?
Yeah, like social work qualifications or just an admin?
My dream, but just an admin. So I also, because I am an LMSW, I hold the opportunity to host interns. So in the future, when space is available, I would love to have BSW interns, MSW interns.
Yeah.
And just remember that from East Hampton, they were told that marketing is important. So we need as much marketing as possible. I think particularly during COVID, people didn't go to the senior center. They didn't go anywhere. And they sort of forgot that it's there too. We need to have more help in selling the senior center. Many of our seniors have gone to other senior centers as well, and trying to get them to come back. We need some efforts in that.
Going back to the interns, the BSW and those folks, is that something like that member handbook and how to volunteer? And would that be addressed there, or is that a whole sort of separate initiative?
It would be separate. I had a conversation with the University of St. Joe's and how hosting an intern, what tasks they would take, and that would be a great opportunity for policies and procedures.
Yeah.
But the senior center needs reconfiguration and updating for space to host expansion.
Cool. Thank you for
Thank you.
educating us.
Take care.
The discussion of the post revaluation grand list.
I'm still here. Thank you for being patient.
You're up.
But it's been a fascinating discussion tonight.
Well, as it's late, I'm not gonna take too much of your time. My name's Simon Lake. I'm the tax assessor. I've been a tax assessor here for 5 years now. I've been involved with tax assessment, in various towns for the past 26 years. I've taken part in 9 revaluations. And the one that we just did is the cleanest by far. So in 2024. In 2024, the total real estate tax, this is the net, after all of the exemptions, was $541 million. In 2025, the reval that we just completed, we're at $776 million and some change. That's a change of $235,165,650, or 43.4% increase. The bulk of the change in the ground list is actually due to the reval, although there is some new construction in there. There's actually a fair bit of new construction and renovations in the kind of guthrie house, but the reval sort of blew that away. Personal property in 2024 net was 20,282,000. In 2025, it was 20,462,000, which gives us a fairly nominal increase of $180,000. It's less than 1% change. It's still an increase, but it's less than 1%. So what is personal? Personal property is business, personal property. So if you're running a business, like Joe, he would be writing his personal property declaration is the equipment that he uses in the operation of his business, not the building itself, just the equipment that he uses. Although in Joe's case, most of it is written off because it's manufacturing equipment that he files the M65 every year. The big surprise was motor vehicles this year. In 2024, we had $66 million, 321,000. It changed this year to 70,507,000, which is an increase of 4,185,076. That's a 6% increase, which is pretty good. So the overall changes were in 2024, the total net ground list was 627 million. It changed this year to 867 million. Which gives us $239 million worth of increase, or about 38.1% increase. Most of that being the real estate. So in order to determine if the reval was good, when I report for the state, I have certain benchmarks that they look for, which are backed up by the IAAO, which is the International Assessing Officers Association, and the state of Connecticut. So the first one that they're looking for is something called a COD, which is a coefficient of dispersion. And they're looking basically at how tightly clustered the assessments are around the median, or what we call on a graph, it's called the curve of best fit. And the median, the sales clustered very, very tightly around that curve of best fit. We would be normally looking for the golden standard for newer residential of a COD of between 5 and 10, or for an older, more diverse residential between 10 and 15. And what we actually got was 6.8. So, towards the low end, the lower the COD, the more accurate the revaluation is. The other metric that we use which is a little bit more important. It's called the PRD, or the price related differential. The price related differential is a statistical measure used to test whether assessments are fair across different value ranges. In plain English, it checks whether expensive properties are being assessed differently than cheaper ones. And we look at that, and that would be the mean assessed ratio divided by the weighted mean assessed ratio. We would be looking for a golden standard of between 0.98 and 1.03. If we hit 1.00, that would be absolutely perfect. For this particular revaluation for residential homes, which is the bulk of our housing stock, we actually hit 1.007, which is absolutely on the nail. The average for overall, for all properties, including commercial properties, it was 1.013. So even then, with even including the commercial properties, it's incredibly tight, which is why I said, if I didn't know better, I would think that the reval company had made these numbers up. When David and I went down to Waterbury to look at the numbers, Paul, who's the reval, he says, I feel like I should dirty these numbers up a bit for you. I'm glad you didn't, because they're absolutely spot on. And if I had half a mind to, I would actually frame this. So anyway, it's been filed with the state. The revaluation has been filed with the state on the 28th of January. So 3 days before the deadline. Even though I requested an extension to get it filed, I didn't need it. Because I've worked very, very hard, and Clear appreciates me.
I do, that all.
So, and then the grand list was also filed on that same day and signed. We actually have the grand list book in the vault for inspection if anybody feels inclined to look at it. Within the next week, I should have the new property record cards on the website. Notifications of change have gone out to people to let them know what the new values are going to be. And I'm now open for business for the Board of Assessment Appeals. I think there's a lot of sticker shock though, because it was a big jump, but that's based entirely on sales that actually occurred within the town. Is there anybody here in real estate? Anybody a realtor? No? Okay, so, because of COVID, almost entirely because of COVID, people ran away from big cities. They wanted more space over the past 3-4 years. The reval company looked at the last 2 years worth of sales. Homes were, when real estate is in balance, you would expect to see homes sitting on the market for between 30 to 70 days and selling 95% of the asking price. By way of comparison, homes, when if they hit the open market in Marlborough, were sitting for between 7 and 10 days, and they were typically selling between 115% of asking and 125% of asking. That just lets you know how crazy it was. So all of those high sales set the market. I have a house that sold on Jones Hollow Road. It's a fairly modest 2,200 square feet. It's a new home though. It's not even on a full-size building lot, and it sold for $875,000. Even with the new reval numbers, I can't get to that number. So to give you an idea as to how difficult it was to select the this reval. Yes.
I do have a question. Can you, for the real estate, can you break down residential versus commercial?
I can do, but not right here. I didn't do what that was with.
I'm most interested to know was it 80-20 and now it's 70-30? Was it 80-20 and now it's 79-21? Like, what is the difference?
By the percentage increase, residential was about an average increase of sorry, 40% increase, 45% increase on average. And commercial was about 27%.
So there is a huge difference.
Yeah, well,
Which means when the mill rate is set, the residential
Correct.
parts are gonna have a.
correct. So, but I don't know if you realize though, that there seems to be an idea that the motor vehicle mill rate and the residential mill rate need to be married to each other and match. They don't. So you could potentially, if you wanted to, if the motor vehicle mill rate is capped at 34, 34.46 or something, I think 32.46. So you could lower the residential mill rate and keep that as it is, if you chose to do that. And that would insulate the residential dwellers a little bit.
Because last year, we got hit
Yeah.
for $1 million, right? With the motor vehicles, less.
Well, they changed the way that they value the motor vehicles.
Right.
So, instead of, we used to be able to use the NADA books.
Yeah.
And we had a lot more wiggle room. And we ended up generally with higher values that way. So the state mandated that, we can only now use MSRP and straight line depreciation.
Okay.
You know, they can't look at, the actual sale price of the vehicle and can look at the MSRP. So if you got a deal from the dealer,
Yeah.
tell them that it's MSRP and straight line depreciation is all I can deal with.
Okay.
So.
I got one quick question. It's
Yeah.
just getting like, if you had a crystal ball, but zoning has approved the townhouses on North Main Street, the apartment house on South Main, the storage facility down on 66. What might those three facilities do to our grand list?
How many housing units are we looking at in the?
48 townhouses.
So we're looking at the possibility of $500,000 per unit. For the affordable houses, probably $350,000.
Correct.
Would be the most likely.
Yep.
Now, those houses there, I don't know if there's any restrictions written into place. So that, because they're affordable housing.
Yeah.
And I have to say the affordable housing is kind of a strange thing to say, considering that
How
affordable
expensive
housing
they are.
is actually worth more than my house in Bolton. They would be impacted in that they could not, if there was a high market, they couldn't sell it for that. Normally they're capped at a certain level, you can only increase your value 1.5% per year. Whereas the other regular units can sell for whatever the market will allow.
The affordable are deed restricted.
Right.
They are, that's what I figured. That's been my law.
So you're saying that the affordable housing hurts the grand list?
Not necessarily, well, legally you have to have 10% of affordable or what they would now call.
They won't
workforce
appreciate
housing.
at the same rate of the market.
Thank you.
Yeah, they just don't appreciate it the same way that the market where the regular ones would. So say 500,000 for 40 of them and 8 of them would be at the diminished rate. The apartment buildings down the way, they don't have income yet, so it's hard to guess. But it's 96 units. I would guess using, I hate to say dead reckoning, but it's probably between, depending on how well it's finished off, between 12 to $18 million.
Okay.
And then the storage facility, probably 600,000 or 700,000.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of a bare bones metal type affair. But that's for the future grand list. That's another animal altogether. But hopefully those coming on will lower the future mill rates, because typically if we were to say, the mill rate's going up by, 30%, therefore, their reckoning would say the mill rate would come down to, I don't know, 25, 26, 27, something like that. Each year it's going to go up because the town still needs a little bit more money every year to run itself.
Good. Thank you.
All right?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
All right, next up is Transfer Station Connecticut Tire Stewardship Program.
I hesitate to talk about anything transfer station related. But my understanding is that this is, a program, fully paid for by the state, in which they, will, accept a whole series of used tires, including larger ones that we can't currently accept. And it is at no cost to the town or our residents. And when the state money runs out, the program ends. So we're not, committing to continuing the program on our dime.
It doesn't cost us anything.
Is this just a diversion? Like we just take the stuff that we're collecting from the transfer station and feed it in?
I believe so.
Yes. It sounds like a revert. Meaning like recycle is one thing, right? You take this thing and you recycle it and make something else. Revert is more specific material, all tires. You try to make stuff that is more closely related to the first product. That's what it sounds like, and that's the only reason why there would be more cost benefit. So do we have to sign up? Do we have to do anything, or we just have to like set up a protocol for the transfer station folks to follow to do this?
You just have to direct me, authorize me to call them and say Marlboro is in.
Do we know if it's gonna impact, like, again, the number of people needed to make this happen, or we can make it happen? It's just instead of driving tires there, we're gonna drive it here. Maybe the transfer station team would just take it to a different.
I don't think that it will require any more resources, manpower to do it.
So you have a tire, and you don't know what to do with it, you bring it to the transfer station. That's what we're doing?
You bring it to the transfer station, and the transfer station get it to these people.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Just drop them off, like they do with the mattresses,
How do they get the tires?
the computers,
Trucks.
right?
Whose trucks, the state is?
No, so this program's covered by, so like people who produce tires, so like Michelin,
Yeah.
Goodyear, it's paid for by them.
Who supplies the trucks to go to the transfer station and tip those tires that everybody dropped off?
I'm assuming either we do and then we get reimbursed for it, or the state does and they get reimbursed for it.
Assuming.
Yeah.
Can we get a little bit more information on it?
Sure.
I mean, it says it begins in March, so can we make a few phone calls and just make sure that it's not gonna burden the team at the transfer station and actually will be benefit, and then we can talk about it again next month when we have a little bit more data. Cool, thank you, David.
Of course.
Approve the contract with the town manager.
Want to go first?
Go for it.
I got the honor. I have reviewed the contract that was submitted to us on January 20th. I have read every line. I have looked at it very close. And there has been changes here made by the town attorney. I can't talk specific because we did do it in executive session. But because the changes were there, I'm gonna ask the chair for the terms and conditions of the contract that we have in front of us. Did we give the town manager notice to negotiate within the 120 days, that item 1? And, I'm sorry, was it term 1? Yeah, page 1, term 1 mandates that we as the Board of Selectmen do this for the town manager. Has that been done?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
This discussion started when the town manager brought to our attention a perceived conflict in language between the town charter and the town manager contract. So, no, I don't believe there was any notice given.
Then for the terms and conditions of the contract that we have in front of us, I think before we continue the process, even to vote on it, that we should serve the town manager notice that we are willing or that we may negotiate this particular contract. Matter of fact, we went into executive session without this notice.
I think you're asking a legal question, so I'm gonna ask that we table this so I can ask the town attorney because I don't think I can answer the question.
Okay.
I think I understand the question that you're asking, which is, did we need to do notice under G little I in order to do what we just did in our last two executive session discussions? And
Because
I don't know the
yeah,
answer.
because we did change the language in the contract prior to this. That I would like advice from the town attorney.
I think the answer is no, because that language that you're referring to is in the new contract, but was not in the old contract. So you did not have to jump through that hoop.
We didn't have to do that.
I don't think, I mean, it says, it talks about termination. So I think David is right. This language changed. And I think it doesn't apply because it's a termination clause. But I'm not a lawyer. So I think if we have an unresolved point, we need to table it and get clarification and just confirm that we're fine and that whatever the language was before we change this.
Okay, the town attorney sent you the contract and asked you to review it and said, if you are comfortable with it, he gave you his blessing to vote to approve it.
I'm just looking back to the highlighted version.
David, does it have the right date on it in the first page? Do you have a copy of it?
I don't.
Does this have to be said in an executive session or not? I gotta be careful here. The date.
In
Mine is
open
draft
session, you
of
just
January
vote on it.
20th.
And then after that, it becomes a public record posted on the website.
Okay.
Once it's approved.
Susan, if you could ask Nick that question, that'd be good,
Okay.
please.
Yep. Okay. All right. Well, then, in that case, I am going to motion that we table the approval of the contract with the town manager until our February 20th meeting, so that we can get an answer from Attorney Grello.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Louise. Is there any other questions that I need to pose to him? Okay, all in favor of tabling that?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so we'll,
Thank you.
yep. And we'll put it on my list. Okay. Moving on to lightning speed, employee resignations and new hires. Do we have?
None.
Oh, yay. Moving on with lightning speed.
Okay.
Boards, commission, resignation, appointments, reappointments. We just did a whole bunch in January. Do we have any new ones?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
No, there's none in the packet.
Yeah.
Okay, more lightning speed. Unfinished business, we already moved up to the SMM. So establish the Marlboro Elementary School Building Committee and approve the committee's charge, which we had a proposed draft of in our last meeting. So if everybody has enough brain power left to do it. Did we get any further interest? We had a couple names from the BOE.
We had two.
We had a couple other submissions that came in, I think, the town hall.
Yep. And they were in a previous packet.
Yep.
2 meetings. Yeah.
No, nobody knew beyond that.
I haven't received any more from the town clerk.
And we've put letters on the River East twice now.
I believe so. I
Okay.
did not read the Friday's River. Yeah.
It was never reached January 30th. You're.
Okay, so it's, that's the second time.
Jumping it up.
All right,
in favor.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the draft charge from the last meeting. Oh, it was the letter from Holly that she sent as an email. Here it is. This is. Yes. So, yeah, this was a January 16th letter that had a draft committee charge. And then we started talking about the makeup. And Dr. Higman had explained like what the statutes say, like you've got to have somebody from construction and trade, and you've got to have somebody BOE and all that kind of stuff. And then we talked about who other people would be advisors that were sort of serving the committee. Right, so on my notes, I don't know if you guys have this from your last meeting, so it was the MESBC shall serve as local authorized school building committee under the state of Connecticut school construction grant program for projects designated by the Board of Education, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, she had another paragraph about preparing an RFP for an owner's project management, OPM firm to guide the committee. And I had made a note that I thought that should be part of the charge. So I don't know if we want to kind of copy this into a separate resolution so everybody can read it again, or if you feel like you're ready to vote on it now, because that was a couple weeks ago. It's this letter, and this was the draft charge here for the building committee. And I had just verbally said that night, like, it looks like this should be part of their charge, if that's a specific thing that we're asking them to do.
So I had a clarification, and maybe David could help us with this. During the actual construction of the school, it belongs to the town of Marlborough, not the Board of Ed. Is that accurate?
The building itself always belongs to the town.
But during the
That's in
actual
charge of the instructional activity that goes on.
Correct. During the construction phase, though, is the town manager a part of it? Because once the building is finished, the town itself presents it to the Board of Ed.
We said
Gives it
that.
to the Board of Ed. Is that accurate?
My notes is that we wrote down that David and Peter, as the town manager and building official, would be at the service of this MESBC, at the service of this committee, as advisors.
And who effectively serve as staff to the committee.
Yeah.
And then when the certificate of occupancy is issued for the building, then it gets transferred to the Board of Ed. Is that accurate?
I don't.
I don't think that the building ever does,
No.
but they.
Always belongs.
Well, how about the jurisdiction of the building?
They do the inside of the building.
There
They're in charge.
are a whole series of state statutes
Yeah.
about what the Board of Ed controls, and yes, they do have appropriately so, a lot of authority around school security and what goes on inside the building and the school grounds and all of that.
But they don't officially get the building.
But the town retains title to the ground and the structure. That's never transferred.
Okay.
Right. What else do we?
So we, the Board of Selectmen, need to establish through motion and action, we need to establish the Marlborough Elementary School Building Committee and establish its charge. And we need to say how many people are gonna be on it and how many alternates they're gonna be. So if we're gonna say we're gonna create an MESBC and there's gonna be 5 members and 2 alternates, great. We talked about who these other advisors would be, Holly, John, Peter, David, all that. But the Board of Selectmen has to create the committee and give it its charge. So if our brains are not ready for that tonight, then on the next agenda, and maybe we can just extract from Dr. Hageman's note this chart with that extra paragraph, I think. And then include also, I don't know, it's a resolution or just a motion, but if we think it's 5 members and 2 alternates, or 7 members and 3 alternate, I don't know if people have strong feelings about that. I feel like if the committee gets too big, can't get anything done. But it's also a really important, huge project. So I think we want to make sure that we staff it right. We have 4 volunteers, so we need 1 more, and we've got to find 2 alternates if we go with 5 and 2 alternates.
Stu, I think that structure may be in place from other projects that we've done in the past at the school. The number of members, the scope of their responsibility, the whole thing, because we've had like 3 major renovations in the school. And that, if we can maybe copy one of those or follow.
That's something that you think you can dig out of the archives?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So I guess we'll do a little bit more homework on that and try to get it ready for the next meeting. You know, we just lose too much time. All right, so I'm gonna make a motion that we table that item on NESBC to our February 20th meeting.
Second.
Seconded by Louise. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? I heard 5 ayes. Town managers updates. Making the ones.
Continuing to work on the budget, very grateful to have been invited by Representative Weir to accompany him to the opening of the legislative session tomorrow. We'll definitely talk with him about Marlboro's interests and including those addressed tonight. And given the late hour, that's all I have.
We're all tired.
Any updates from the board? Don?
Nope.
Anthony?
Nope.
No.
Okay.
Good enough.
Correspondence. I got a letter from America 250 and I forgot to bring it. It said, we have Mark Paul on record as your person, and Mark confirmed that, yes, he is. So go Mark. But I don't have any other correspondence. Anything else from you, David, that has come in correspondence wise?
I think that you received, we did receive a lot of emails about.
Tons of emails.
SMM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Many of which were reiterated here tonight. Yep. Okay. Public comments. Yes, ma'am.
I just had to say something. Deb Borbo, I'm not gonna stand, his speakers right next to me, 174 North Main Street. I grew up in a family where my dad worked, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad got sick with a migraine, there was no money coming in because he couldn't work. We stayed within our means, we only bought what we could, what we needed. Otherwise, we didn't get it. I've lived as a wife for 54 years, and the same thing in my household. If we needed something, we put money aside for it to make sure that we could pay for it. So what we did was we took a pot of money. We decided, how do we make it all work? In 54 years in this town, I've never seen us approach a budget season like that, where we say, here's our pot of money. Okay, let's make it work. We do it the other way around, where we say, we want this. It's gonna cost this much, so let's tax the people X% more to make sure we get that money. Someday before I leave this earth, I would really hope that we turn the budget process around and start with the pot of money and make it work. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? I don't see any hands on the computer. Mark, do you see anybody?
Yeah, I don't see anything.
Oh, I'm dead.
Going once?
Not even signed off.
Going twice?
Sleeping.
Okay.
9:32.
I'll make a motion.
Motion to adjourn at 9:28 by Anthony. Second by me. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.